What I'd like to do now is ask our partners and presenters from Pierce County to step up and join us on the stage. Let me introduce Linda Nguyen is the Chief Executive Officer of Workforce Central and Chief of Staff to the Workforce Development Council. Linda's has 20 years of workforce development experience, and she began her career as a youth case manager for Workforce Central and has performed various functions that include program management, planning and compliance, department lead, program development, and funds acquisition. So she's done it all. So welcome. We're so glad to have you. I'd like to next introduce Susan Suess. Susan is the Senior Vice President of Economic Development for, she's the Senior Vice President of the Economic Development Board of Tacoma-Pierce County, a private nonprofit corporation focused on the retention and recruitment of primary industries in Tacoma-Pierce County. Over the past 10 years, the EDB has worked with companies that have invested more than $1 billion in Pierce County and created more than 14,000 jobs. So Susan, welcome. And I'd like to welcome back to the stage Ellie Chambers, who is, in this capacity, is going to represent her day job at the City of Lakewood as an Economic Development Manager. Ellie has been with the city since April of 2008. As an Economic Development Manager, Ellie's role is in part to ensure a better integration of economic development activity with other departments in the city. She works on redevelopment projects in Lakewood. She works on the retention and expansion of existing businesses. She works with new businesses and recruitment projects for locations within the city, and is focused on efforts in geographically targeted areas of the city, such as the Pacific Highway, Town Center, Tillicum, and Woodbrick business parks. So prior to coming to Lakewood, Ellie worked for the city of Puyallup, Avista, you think that's enough? Avista, and for the Spokane Economic Development Council. So we're lucky to have all of them here today. And with that, and I'm really excited to hear what Roasters, Soldiers, and Scientists is really all about. So welcome and thanks for being here.
Great. Good morning. I wish I could take credit for this presentation, but I really can't. But Bruce and Susan get credit for the Bruce Kendall and Susan Suess dreamed up the title, and Linda and I just thought it was so clever we had to go. So good morning, thank you. We have what we think is a great job creation model for Pierce County, and it's an integrated approach to job creation. And so this opportunity came actually to the City of Lakewood because of our OEA grant. And OEA is an Office of Economic Adjustment grant, and it is used to map military growth and impact to surrounding communities. And we had wanted to map the labor force in Pierce County that was attached to JBLM, and the Office of Economic Adjustment did not cover that. And so they referred us to some other sources, and since that grant was going to be specifically focused on labor, I called Linda and said, Linda, we really need some help. And I said, and I really don't think I really know the terms that I'm going to need to. And she just said, oh, we can do that. And so she pulled a committee together, and we were off and running to get this grant that we're going to talk about, and then how that has been really a good model for how we've all been integrated together. So this opportunity allowed us to formalize partnerships around a shared goal, which is to increase job creation. It was to increase services to businesses and to job seekers, and to leverage the partners' resources to increase efficiency and effectiveness. And while the OEA grant and NEGE grant is part of what we're talking about, there are some other great examples of how this is at work in Pierce County today. In the past, we knew about each other, and but we now kind of live with each other more. We're on each other's boards, we go to the same meetings, and so we have a lot more interface with each other and opportunities to talk about the things that we're working on, and maybe the things that we have in common that maybe we can partner to create a different outcome. So with that, I'm going to pass the mic.
We're going to have, we need to click also.
Oh, okay.
Well, we're on actually to the next slide. So we tried to look for some props last night, you know, soldier, roaster, and chemist, but we couldn't find any props. So, sorry. Couldn't entertain you too much this morning. So who are the partners? We were introduced here. Workforce Central is the Pierce County Workforce Investment Board, and we are the go-to resource for workforce solutions and information. What's our purpose in life? Our purpose in life is really to increase the competitiveness of our residents and our businesses, and how we do that is really through investments in education, training, and talent matching.
The EDB is the local ADO for Pierce County. We have focus on retaining our existing businesses, and to give a little framework, we meet with about 180 businesses a year on our outreach business retention program, and we don't do that by ourselves. We do that in partnership with cities, county, government folks, workforce development, the business connection team, and others. So the business retention is a really big focus of us, of our organization. We also do very targeted recruitment of businesses in primary industry clusters.
Thank you. And at the city of Lakewood, Lakewood's about 60,000 people, so we're about the 15th largest city in Washington. And we're basically the host community to both Joint Base Lewis McChord, and which was officially joined last year, and then also to Camp Murray. And so even though those communities are not within our city boundaries, they're at our city boundary, and of course we see the interaction of those people every day. We also focus on recruitment and retention of business, but we partner with the EDB on primary industry things, and they're the lead. But then for some commercial projects that wouldn't be within their area of scope, and then for retail projects, then we're the lead agency for that. Okay.
So we want to talk a little bit about how we partner. Back when the economy was really good, we heard from businesses, we are having a terrible time finding workers. Then when the economy tanked and things got really bad, and there were tons of people looking for work, we still heard from businesses, we're having a hard time finding the right workers. So economic development and workforce development both have well-developed systems. Each of us has a stake in looking for success. If there are sustained issues with our workforce, we lose and the businesses lose. So there have been great reasons all along for us to really develop that relationship. To me, the key success, the key reason that our partnership with the business connection team, the key reason for that is because we offer solutions to businesses. So let me talk a little bit about the business connection team. We have one point of contact. Dan Grisham is here in the office. Here, he sits in our office. He's here today. Dan is the single point of contact for businesses when they are looking for workers. Dan is the single point of contact for us from economic development when we have a business case where we're looking for help finding workers. Dan will come to meetings with us, and when the business says, I'm having trouble finding workers, Dan doesn't say, I have a whole bunch of people I can place. I have some resumes of some really great people. Dan says, what are you looking for? Tell me what your problems are. My colleagues are working with job seekers that probably have the skills you need, but I need to know what you're looking for, and I'll go back and I have a whole array of colleagues, and they're going to be able to come up with a solution to your problem. So it's like if you're building something, you get a bicycle for your child and you need that wrench that has the unique shape. If you don't have the right tool, you may be able to sort of cobble something together, but it might not work real well. The business team provides that right tool for the business to respond to their issue. When the EDB talks to a business, if it's a business retention, we're asking them, what is it that is causing you heartburn? What keeps you awake at night? And if that's a workforce issue, we try to help provide the solution to their problem, the answer to their problem. One of the things that we ask ourselves is, if there are problems finding workers, what can we do about it? we can try and find job seekers, but then the partners to the Business Connection team work on those training issues and the other issues related to how do we continue to develop the workforce so that we don't have sustained ongoing issues.
Yeah, if I can just add again, economic development partners. So Susan and her team, they don't have to know all the multiple partners in workforce development. And we don't have enough brain power to really know and time to get to know all of the economic development resources and partners out there. So this whole single point of contact, having the expert that you can rely on to go access within your own respective systems for those resources to be able to be responsive to our business customers, that's really key. And really about a year ago now, it was kind of a no-brainer. It's like, well, God, maybe we should put Dan over there. That way, there's easy access. You can holler over the cubicle. If there's opportunities, you're just right there with each other. And that's been magical in terms of increasing that integration and coordination with each other. So thank you, Dan Grisham. You can wave to everyone. And then we have also our Director of Business Connection or Business Services as well here, Jessica Neal-Smith. So thank you. You guys do a great job. Thank you. Oh, and then I think you're next. Yeah.
So how do we partner? Dan has residents in our office. He is with us 2 days a week. He attends our staff meetings. When we are in staff meeting and we're talking about a project or a business client, Dan is there. He's hearing all of the information about the client. He provides resource, he provides information. He sometimes offers to do some research. He can be the resource that in the past we referred to, or we said, we'll go talk to them, try and find out. He's integrated as part of our staff. Bruce Kendall sits on the board of the Workforce Central Advisory Council, so we participate in each other's meetings. When we are on business calls, Dan isn't a referral, he's a partner. So he sits in on the business calls with us. He actively participates with us on recruitment and retention. Oh, confidentiality is an issue, and when companies are working with us, they are always concerned that information regarding their identity or their plans not be released. As was mentioned yesterday, we come up with really great creative project names. Dan can work with the company, can guarantee them confidentiality, can participate in the meetings, and they have no worry about any disclosure of information. And so it gives comfort to the businesses that when they contact the EDB, we're private and we don't disclose the information, but we provide them the resources and solutions.
Let's just roll into your next slide.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and talk about this is the roasters. In March of 2009, I think James Palmer from Commerce contacted the EDB and said there's a food processing company that may be interested in a community in our area. He asked us to do what typical agencies like ours do. Could we set up a meeting with the community, bring the right people in, talk about resources and incentives? We got enough information on what they were looking for to learn that they would be hiring and they were interested in workforce as well as wages. We set up a meeting. This happened to be in the city of Sumner. We had the mayor there, the city administrator. Sumner is a great down-home community. They fed the client some rhubarb pie. That won the case. But we had Dan Grisham at the meeting with us. Dan was able to tell them what levels of salaries they'd need to pay, what numbers of workers that would be available in food processing industry, and what services he could offer. One of the unique things about their services is that it is customized to the employer. So Dan explains very well to the company, we can do as little or as much as you want, and that's very helpful and key to the company. They can get resumes or they can have full range of services, including job fairs and such. So it really is, again, serving the needs of the business.